So we are recording. Hello, everybody. Welcome again to our next exciting instalment of Franchise Wars. And I use exciting loosely because tonight we get to talk about the Die Hard franchise. Yippee-ki-yay!
Franchise Wars.
So, 1, 3, 2, 4, 5. Mark, what's yours?
Really excited. Jesus Christ. Oh, look. Oh, hold it in, son. Hold it in. Jesus Christ. Your fiancé must be thrilled.
Ronan is hitting the cheap vodka. Ronan's going for it on the cheap vodka to get him through this. And I know he's already showed it, but we have to see the amazing Yippee-ki-yay ho-ho-ho t-shirt. That's marvellous.
I'm trying to see if I can scroll it past the Zoom screen.
That's good. And I wish you'd got scrawled in it in lipstick. What was it? I have a gun now. I have a machine gun now. That would be good as well.
Yeah, I want to get that. You can actually buy those grey sweatshirts with that on.
Oh, you can?
Really need to get it.
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah.
I don't think they're official. Like you get them on Etsy and whatever, but they are very cool. Proper Fruit of the Loom ones as well.
So let's kick off with the start of the beloved franchise. Oh, Martin, hang on, you're going to say something?
I'm going to say the first thing. Just good to see Ronan alive and well.
Oh yeah, and
he's in the real Die Hard at the moment in New York.
there was no irony at all wearing a Captain America Civil War t-shirt. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So a few hours before curfew, Ronan's allowed to do this, and then keep windows and doors closed and just
windows be quiet.
So let's crack on. Let's talk about Die Hard. And I think we need to agree that A, it's a Christmas film, and B, it's bloody great. It's a great film.
Yeah.
Die Hard is great.
It's not Christmas till you see Hans Gruber plummeting from the Nakatomi Plaza.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. I mean, yeah. I think.
Munt, you'll go against him because he's Munt.
I think the only I think an explosion of Christmas. If there was a Christmas explosion, it would be Hans Gruber falling out of Nakatomi Tower at the same time as Noddy Holder yelling, "It's Christmas."
Yeah.
It's Christmas!
I'm going to make that video. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make that. And it'll just be like the best. It'll just be everything.
I think with a bunch of fucking plebs. The only reason this has got any relevance to anything is the fact that it's a Christmas movie. Apart from that, it's a typical generic action movie. And you're all looking at it with rose-tinted glasses. That's what it is. It's the
typical generic action movie. It's the action movie. It's not typical generic because at the time it was the film that came out and broke a lot of that generic. First Blood was maybe the forerunner to this, but that first one, it's just they tried to stick an everyman in there. Okay, it's the kind of what America views as the everyman. Like it's not the same as America cast Mark Wahlberg as an everyman in movies. I mean, Jesus Christ.
That's an interesting point, Martin, because I know our last episode I was talking about ranking or grading films in terms of how many Team Americas, and actually compared to the likes of Rambo, Die Hard wouldn't, because America is, I don't think, ever shown as infallible as it is especially in the Transformers movies, and I guess to a lesser extent in the Rambo movies, but especially in the first one. The whole reason they can pull the heist off is because the predictability of the FBI. It doesn't show them in a relentlessly rose-tinted glasses light. So, and I think that's what made it break the cycle that you're talking about. It wasn't as Team America. I don't think it would score any Team Americas if you were scoring it as such.
I think for me, what really holds this film up actually isn't John McClane and Bruce Willis's turn, which I agree could be deemed as a generic action film, a bloody great generic action film. I just want to get that in there. Alan Rickman is a perfect bad guy.
Oh yeah,
faultless. He steals the whole thing from beginning to end. He's faultless. And actually, because of how good he is, You skip over a lot of the crap. The guy from Ghostbusters who plays the same person, the coke-addled advertising executive who tries to do a deal, the really crappy European bad guys, you know, the stereotypical black limo driver who's, you know, you couldn't make that on June the 3rd, 2020 because it paints the black guys in a not so good light.
God duty.
But Hans Gruber, that is one of the best bad guys.
Yeah,
one of the best bad guys on film.
Because he's so calm, and that's where the menace is. Yeah.
It's a load of bollocks. It can't even step on a fucking Lego without no shoes on. So how does it get through the entire film?
I thought it was a generic action film. I thought it was generic there, Mark.
Doesn't he just took his shoes off?
I was stab himself through a foot with a Bowie knife and survive perfectly fine. Go running down the street because it's not the generic action movie.
No, the only reason this has got any longevity is because it's set in Christmas. So now every year we roll it out and go, yeah, it's not Christmas until we've seen Die Hard. It's boring. It's just the usual bad guy, kill the bad guy.
Have you got those all wrote down for you? All the little one-liners. No. I assume you got them wrote down. You seem to be looking to one side. That's why I assume.
I'm trying to stop myself from falling asleep.
That'll be it. Let's stabbing this stuff for a few times. It'll keep you awake.
Okay, so
I just don't understand. I just cannot understand why this film is put on such a pedestal.
This is great.
It's fantastic.
It's not average. It's average.
For an acting glasses. It's near perfect of the style that it is.
No, it's not. Yeah. It's just.
It really is.
Yeah, look at me, I'm ace. It's crap.
No.
Oh dear, he's gone mental again.
Now the issue, as great as one was, I saw Die Hard 2, Die Hard. Well, firstly, the titles of the films are ridiculous. So can we just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Let's just get that out of the way now. I mean, it's ridiculous. So Die Hard 2 is ridiculous.
Die Harder.
Yeah, is a parody of the first one. They even use.
It's not a parody. It's a version. It's another version of the same thing.
No, it's a cash grab. It's a blatant, absolute fucking cash grab. That's all the film is. Beat for beat, it's exactly the same movie, but with planes.
I mean, yes. Now, I have a special affinity for Die Hard 2 because it was the first of the Die Hards that I actually saw. But and I've thought this before, but I was especially thinking it the last time I was watching it. I think it's got the most interesting side characters. I don't know why. I feel like every side character and every minor character in it has a story. And I like Carmine Lorenzo. What the fuck is his deal? And his brother. I'd love to see like a series of short-ish novels with the backstories or side stories, the spin-offs of these minor characters. Marvin the janitor.
Yeah.
Fuck, how can you say? Marvin is definitely like a war vet of some description. Like, consider his first meeting with John McClane is that he shoves a gun in his face. He seems relatively chill, and then later becomes besties with him. So it's like Marvin must have seen some shit to be this cool, because I wouldn't be that fucking cool about it. So Marvin has a story, and I want to know about Marvin's story. And then you've got the reception lady who who's like, I finished my shift in half an hour or whatever it was, and like, what's her deal? Like, a cop is clearly into some shit. He's clearly in the middle of stuff. He's got business going on. He's very, very busy, and she's like, you know, you want to get a drink or whatever, and it's like, well, firstly, you know, why did she see the ring, and was she ignoring it? Because generally, if you're looking at perspectives when you reach a certain age, that's what you look at. But she just didn't. So is that just her deal? So I think she's an interesting story. Then Esperanza is a story. Colonel Stewart is a story. And I just think the side characters are more fascinating in Die Hard 2.
Really?
Like, after
the nice little twist.
The first Die Hard, you know John McClane well enough. You know his deal. You know what he's like. But I just think the side characters in Die Hard 2 just do such random shit and have such oddities about them. I want to know more.
From the red wrap tape to the blue wrap tape and everything on the ammo, just little things just work really nicely.
I think the trouble for me, you'd got such a great, obvious, brilliant villain. Hans Gruber was so great. I thought that Stewart and Grant and is it Esperanza? I can't remember it.
Yeah,
I think because you've got three of them, and it's sort of they watered down, you know, even to a point where you see Colonel Stewart, for some bizarre reason at the beginning of the film, naked practicing karate, and you think, oh right, why? And then,
practitioner.
That's how you practice
and then at the end, so you think McClane's going to get an absolute bee sting, and he sort of doesn't, and you go, well, what was the point of that? And John Amos as Grant, you sort of think, oh, here we go, this is going to be really good, and it's sort of quite it's not a great exit. You're expecting more. He's such a good character.
Yeah.
And then,
to be fair though, the whole thing with Bruce Willis in Die Hard generally, he survives a lot on luck. I mean, throughout the movie, really, through every single one, he's not always the best guy, but he's the guy who tries hard and survives on a bit of luck.
I get that, but it, you know, for me, it just missed a beat. It was like after how good the first one was. They even took the piss out of itself. Oh, I can't believe this is happening to the same guy again. You're like, yeah, I know what they're going to do now. They're going to mention, oh, yeah, there he is. Oh, there's his mate from the previous one, eating Twinkies. It was, oh, my goodness me, they had to shoehorn everything in and then and then to, I'd have
name of the franchise.
I'd have coped with that had they not left us with three, frankly, piss poor bad guys. They just.
And this is what I was saying about Die Hard 2 being a blatant cash-in, because the first one is an accidental hero, and that's what he is, and that's why it works. And then the second one is, what the fuck are we going to do now? I know, let's just throw everything at it, and people will go. So, and that's exactly what they did. They just forgot about the story. The story is weak as piss.
But it does have some of the best deaths. I think, was it Grant who went into the airplane engine? That was fucking cool. That was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. And I think I was 10 when I saw Die Hard 2. I was just like, wow, that was amazing. Yeah. And the guy, the new recruit, the replacement guy who got his throat slit, that's my first time watching a guy get his throat slit on the TV. And I was like, wow, wow. And there was some other ridiculous death in it as well. Death by scaffolding.
Yeah, there was the guy who also gets his head under the is it the thing with in the luggage area, and he gets his head on there.
Yes. So I mean, if there was a prize for most ridiculous death in a Die Hard movie, 2 has got that hands down.
Got the prize for the most ridiculous one death as well, when he goes flying up in the air in the cockpit seat. Oh
yeah.
Oh.
Yes. For deaths as well, though, the fact that he kills meat from porkies with a giant icicle, fantastic stuff.
But I think, and as well as that, like the goons in Die Hard 2, like, I mean, I don't know if you saw, I shared it on Facebook, like where I stopped it when I was last watching it, and where it started playing when I went to watch it this time. And I just was looking at that the other day. I was like, man, that is one hell of a lot of now well-known actors who were completely.
Isn't it John Leguizamo as well as one of the guys?
Yeah.
You got Mark Boone Jr., you got Jason Patrick, you got John Leguizamo, and there was
that's a Porkies.
What's his name? I can't remember his name. But there was a few like just in that, and it's like, oh my god, I know all these people now, and they're just playing like these anonymous henchmen.
So,
I have to watch Die Hard 2 with matchsticks in my eyes, because it's just so all these side characters and all these people, I just don't take much notice. It's just painful to watch. And that brings me lovely on to 3, because the way I look at this now is, for me, for the Die Hard franchise, it starts with 1 and then goes straight to 3 and then stops. 2 is a dream that McClane has while he's having a breakdown from everything that he's gone through. And 3 is the proper natural sequel to the first one.
Yeah.
And Die Hard 2 could easily not exist, a bit like Rocky 3 and 4 and 5.
Yeah, once again, I think you're completely mental.
Nah.
I do think you're absolutely mental there. No, you need to, because they do it. 2 is where they actually do, hey, we're going to make franchise out of this. And they do every obvious franchise move in the book. Every single obvious franchise move. They cram them all there into 2. So you can have 3 afterwards where you don't have to have all the obvious franchise moves in there instead. 3, they actually take from, what was it, a book Simon Says, and like transfer that instead and make that a fantastic movie. I love Samuel L. Jackson in it is absolutely wonderful. I love him in that. When they come up first off, when they've got him out in the sign and everything out in the streets.
Oh,
there's a film you couldn't make today.
Absolutely not. That's exactly what I was thinking when I was watching it. It's like, God, you couldn't do that now.
You couldn't even make a joke about Die Hard 3 today.
No way. Not that opening scene. No way.
No.
But it's weird, and like the first film, I think in particular, really drives home the fact that McClane is a New York cop, and then 3 is actually the first film that's actually set in New York. He's on his home ground, so that's a new perspective. And then, like for me, living in New York now, oh man, it's weird. Whenever it's like a hot, muggy day, I automatically think of that opening song in Die Hard 3, the Love and Spoonful.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the city. I have that in my head when I used to work in Manhattan, and I'd be walking through the city on a hot, muggy, damp summer morning, and I would have that song in my head, which is really bad because that essentially means that I associate a summer morning in New York with terrorism. I'm just feeling it from a film that I saw 20 fucking years ago.
Yeah, you probably have been wearing that sandwich board though, and just your underwear at the time. I mean, that was probably a bad choice.
But then it was weird when everything started going quiet and places were getting shut down because of coronavirus. And I was walking in my own neighborhood, and it reminded me of the scene in Die Hard 3 where the kid like robs whatever food, and it's like, there's not a cop around here for miles. I was like, because everyone's distracted elsewhere, and probably the same would apply right now. They're all focused on the protest. So yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
I think again, like the first one, I think John McClane is okay. He's he's Bruce Willis doing John McClane, which is okay, and New York cop. Samuel L. Jackson in a scene stealing opportunity as well. He at that time it was, let's put Samuel L. Jackson in anything and he makes it better. And then he went into Star Wars, and we've talked about Star Wars. And then
Jimmy made that better.
Jeremy Irons suddenly pops up and does a great performance as the bad guy.
Yeah,
I think he did great.
Then we're looking. How the hell are we going to replace Gruber? How the hell are we going to replace Rickman? What are we going to do? We need a really strong Shakespearean-style British actor again to come in and do it, and that's what they went and got.
Yeah, that's what they went.
For me, 3 is a faultless sequel. It's a perfect sequel to the first one. I think there is nothing wrong with 3. I could watch it as a standalone movie at any time, and I don't feel like I need to watch any other ones of the franchise.
I get that. I like 3. I think you forget a little bit about his backstory. You forget a little bit, and it's just action film, cop. It's him doing some of his stuff. It's wildly outrageous. The subway scene in particular is ridiculous. It's fun. It's great.
They try to recapture that with 4. They don't quite do it as well, but they do very much try to recapture what they do with 3, with 4. That was what I noticed, like watching through it again. It's like there is the jump. There's one is that set story, and okay, that's basically a follow-up on an attempted franchise from a Frank Sinatra film back years and years ago. And then they do 2, which is the obvious, let's throw every franchise thing that we can here, just to make them going to be a set of franchise films. Then they come with 3, and it's suddenly a great film again. I enjoyed it as much as the first sort of thing. Then they come with 4, and it wants to be like 3, but it's not quite as good. But it's still enjoyable.
Getting closer to 5. I need more vodka.
More than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Got
Roland's getting closer to the edge. Mark has fallen asleep.
The problem,
all that
I have the same problem with 4 as I do with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Somebody thought it was an idea, and somebody was too scared to say no, don't. And it has its good moments, and I can see what it's trying to do, but whereas 3, okay, there's an over the top action in it, but there's an element of realism about what is actually happening and what's going on. With 4, it feels silly.
Yeah.
That airplane, the airplane scene.
A helicopter in the car.
The airplane scene just takes me out of the film every time I see it. That's time for me to switch. I'll just switch off then. I mean, if they cut that airplane scene out, it might feel a bit more grounded. But that was the jump the shark moment, if ever I've seen one.
Yeah.
It just kills the film stone dead.
Oh, Christ. At the end, chasing around on the motorway with the big rig truck and stuff. Yeah, that was very much.
It becomes unbearable then.
At the time, he did a scene like it, and they tried doing that again. You get a feeling that was a bit of competition between Bruce and Arnie and Sly and all that, and who can do a ridiculous sort of action thing at the time.
I think it was a blatant case of we can do a lot of action stuff now with CG, so let's fucking do whatever we can. And that was blatant. It was just awful.
Wasn't it? It was released around the time of...
Was it just a nod to the Expendables?
Well, wasn't it released about the time of Rambo 4 or whatever the bloody hell it was called?
Yeah, it would have been the year before.
Where all those ridiculous OTT CGI from the early, from the early.
Well, that's what we had. We had Rambo 4, we had Die Hard 4, and we had Indy 4, all within the space of 18 months. And all 4 were a bad idea. All 3 were a bad idea, really.
Yeah.
They should have just left it as it was.
I think it was that like, I don't know, was that around the start of the unnecessary sequels and remakes and reboots and all of that? Was that around the start of all of that?
Well, it was,
I think the unnecessary sequel's been going on for a while. I mean, how many Friday the 13th? So we had.
Don't forget, it was pre-MCU though, so something had to fill that void. And you just got through Lord of the Rings and everything happening, and then it was just this spate of stuff happening. Oh, let's just bring out Terminator 47 and all these sort of things going on, and it sort of lost its way. I always think of Die Hard 4 for me. Die Hard 4 for me is try hard. That is just, it tries its best, but it just falls flat. And you're right, Mark.
I found it more interesting than I thought I would. I watched back through them all. I didn't dislike it as much as I thought I would.
That scene with the airplane and the truck is.
If there's a Die Hard movie that I'm going to watch standalone without bothering with the others, it will be Die Hard 4. And I did that a couple of months ago before Franchise Wars even existed.
Wow.
I was just feeling it, and I think. Again, living in America, there's some themes in Die Hard 4 that kind of are a bit close. So I was just feeling Die Hard 4. So yeah, for me, it's a perfectly fine standalone. But even before I lived in America, it was a fine standalone film.
But talking of Die Hard 4, we nearly had a Die Hard 4 back in 1995, 96, 97. And it was striking. 93. It was striking distance, and there was going to change.
The boat one.
The boat one. There was going to actually make that a John McClane movie, and it didn't happen in the end.
So it would have been as Speed is Die Hard on a bus. This would have actually been Die Hard doing Die Hard on a boat.
Yes. It was nearly Die Hard 4.
Whatever you think of Die Hard 4, thankfully that didn't happen.
I like all these interesting segues you do, Mark, and that was a particular interesting segue because we needed one. Because strap yourselves in, guys. We better talk about Die Hard 5.
Oh God! Give him time to double up.
I mean, Die Hard 5. So I watched it. It's forgettable toss away action film that they shoehorn the name John McClane in. I watched a review about it earlier, and actually the review I heard about it was spot on. And the review said simply this: where is John McClane? Because that John McClane we haven't seen. He doesn't care. Smashing
It's a complete setup for the Sun taking over.
It's not even that.
It doesn't look good either. It doesn't. The effects and everything, the CGI and everything, don't look good. It was
the biggest problem with Die Hard 5.
We spent more on a budget, but it just looked awful.
The biggest problem with Die Hard 5 is they cast the franchise killer Jai Courtney. I mean,
yeah.
Everything he's in, he fucks the franchise. Terminator.
Yeah. But I mean, you see him in, was it Wet Hot American Summer? Like the second, was it 10 years later when he turns up in that? And he's really funny in that at the beginning. He's really funny. Suicide Squad, he's actually one of the strongest things in Suicide Squad, which is weird as hell. But in this, he's just bad. He seems Eastern European, boring, wooden, stilted. It just doesn't work. To say all the things that you loved about Bruce Willis' character at the beginning of it, everything you loved there, he just throws it all out the window. All the character, all the charm, all the wit, all the humour as well. I'm not the perfect guy, but maybe if I try really hard, I'll luck into it sort of thing. You know, I won't give up. I'll keep trying. Maybe I'll get lucky. But he just comes out, oh no, I'm this perfect, cool, calm super soldier sort of guy. And it's awful. It's just the wrong way to go. Whoever came up with the ideas behind it should be lined up against the wall and shot.
The biggest problem you've got with it is not only is he not John McClane, but he's also the premise of the Die Hard movie from the first one is that he's an accidental hero, and he's no longer an accidental hero. He's now the hero we call upon to help us in Russia, and I just go, what the fuck was that? He's turned into James Bond.
He wasn't called upon to help in Russia. He just kind of went willingly.
Yeah.
Whereas in the first film, he was unwilling. In 5, he was willing. He was like, of course this is what I'll do. My son, who works for the CIA, I should go help him. I was like,
do you remember the last one of these we did? And we said it was like a film was written. We talked about Rambo 5, didn't we? Was it Rambo 5 or 28 or whatever it was?
Rambo 5,
we said Rambo 5 was written, and then they shoved the name Rambo in, and we all said, and Mark, I think you said you liked it, but it didn't feel like a Rambo film. I feel like this about Die Hard 5. It was like they wrote it for something else and went, should we just call it John McClane? There's just no care. It's just, there's no empathy. You sort of think, I don't care. And it's so boring.
It's like they got the script for the blockbuster and the mockbuster mixed up.
Yeah, this would be perfect.
That's what they did.
This would be perfect.
Probably made the proper Die Hard 5 somewhere. I need to go through the Silence films looking for the real Die Hard 5.
I really thought when you were watching, you're thinking, Ronan's going to be rating this in poos in about 2 weeks, and this just didn't feel like a Die Hard film.
I mean, it also Bruce Willis's performance. He didn't phone it in. He fucking WhatsApp messengered it in.
Yeah, it's that bad.
But I mean, I think as Mark said at the start, like they were trying to the intention was to reboot the franchise, but the thing with the Die Hard franchise, whether Mark agrees with this bit or not, is that it started off really strong. That's why it lasted as a franchise. If this is a reboot, it's got to start equally as strong, and it didn't. It was awful.
Still on its own.
And that's not how you soft reboot anything. It's not how you continue anything. It's how you kill something on its ass.
Yeah.
And that's what they did.
Did anybody else feel like it was very dark visually from beginning to end as well?
Yeah, it was like in Clerks, where they had to only film at night because it was so shit nobody would give them permission to film it. So they had to do it at night. I made that up.
I just felt like I was either falling asleep or it was a dark movie.
The whole CGI looks bad. Everything looks fake and looks bad. It slows down, it speeds up. It doesn't do Die Hard style. It completely tries to use the style of things like Taken and stuff like that. You know, it's trying to rip off the style of other things, and It doesn't look like a Die Hard movie. It doesn't have the actors that like a Die Hard movie. It doesn't even use the characters that you'd have in a Die Hard movie.
Are you guys familiar with Neil Breen?
Neil Breen.
Neil Breen. He's a director. He's a favorite in bad movie circles. Look him up and compare and contrast with Die Hard 5. Neil Breen should have directed Die Hard 5. And then it would have been shit, but my God, it would have been interesting.
I mean, talking of shit movies, you're right. This did feel like Asylum ripping off Die Hard, didn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Much as I found really the last Indiana Jones movie, I thought it was like a TV movie version of Indiana Jones. This was kind of the same. This was the TV. You say many times the previous Netflix sort of movies, how they felt like a cheaper TV movie sort of version of movies, until now when they're actually turning out good stuff. But this felt like that. It felt like the cheap copy version of a film.
It was like this would be on Channel 5 at 8 o'clock, and now tonight's big budget movie on 5, Die Hard 5. It felt like that.
You could watch it as like a blow up, pew pew, bang bang, sort of, explodey sort of thing, and it'll just be a bit of sort of eye candy, and that's all right. As soon as you put Die Hard to it, it's just this dies hard.
I mean, we talked about the sequels. I mean, we said, like, I don't think 2's great, 3's brilliant, 4 is hard work. But 5 falls into the category of sequels of Jaws the Revenge.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is. It just goes right, drops right off. It could be Cannon and Golan Globus making it, Superman 4. It is that kind of quality of a film.
You're right. It is.
Boring shark.
It's Revenge of the Sith quality of sequel. No, it's better than Revenge of the Sith. It's better than Revenge of the Sith. Guys, I'm just gonna on that note, we're gonna pause. Here's a pause, and we'll brief pause, a re-invite, and we'll go to part 2. Okay.
Okay. Look, it's the Hans Gruber.
So, Mark, I think you're right. I think it did fall very, very flat and very hard. If Die Hard 4 was try hard, this was don't bother. This really is an appalling film for me. It's dreadful.
Even Bruce Willis was taking the piss out of it in the press junket. He was like, "Isn't this a stupid name for a film? A Good Day to Die Hard. Isn't this silly? What's with this? It sounds like we're going for a picnic or something. Come on." So even he was embarrassed by it. I think was it the one show he was on in the UK where he particularly laid into it, and I think maybe he'd just been on the press junket for so long he'd run out of patience. But he really laid into it. And yeah, so even Bruce Willis at this point, I think he knew what he was doing. He was collecting a check.
Oh, very much. Very much.
He was collecting a check and coordinating the call.
Hard.
So, in summary then, I think we can agree 1 is great, and I know you're not that keen on it, Mark, but in that case, you don't count, because 1 is a brilliant
I wasn't keen on it. It's an okay movie. It is what it is. It's overrated, and people look at it through rose-tinted glasses. 3 is a superior movie to 1.
So,
I mean, I've watched them all. I watched them all last week for it, and I still disagree with you. I think you've been dropped on your head as a child.
It's rose-tinted glasses. It really is. It's just an average, mediocre.
If you don't trust me,
we'll see that Mark has been dropped on his head.
See what they read.
See,
Just
I
have a
have to
look
be honest.
for film reviews, see what they think. Just if you don't trust me, honestly.
Hang on a second, Martin. I think we've established over the hang on. I think we've established over the period of the last few weeks that I don't give one flying fuck what anybody else thinks. So why on earth am I going to go read what other people say about a movie to change my mind, right? If I think it's shit and not good enough, it's shit and not good enough. Simple as that. And it's shit and not good enough.
It's very true. And we've also discovered over the period of the last few months, years, decades, that Christ, you talk some shit. Jesus Christ, you talk some shit.
Well, I've said this before. When people
Die Hard overrated, Die Hard not that good.
When they make movies,
Every critic, everyone who watches it has got it wrong. It's just
Yeah.
Munty's got it right.
I've always been of the opinion that when they make a movie, they should be
Yes, I know.
making it specifically for me and do all the things that I like in a movie and hit all the beats. The excuse when they say you are not the target audience is a fucking cop-out for every movie and TV maker. I am the target audience and they should make everything for me. They don't, and therefore they're not good. It's not good enough. I can't see a problem with that. Just to turn around and say, well, you're not the target audience is a cop-out.
For more
Love
gems
Island,
like this,
right? Love Island is a pile of fucking shit. We all agree. And the reason why it's a pile of shit is because it's not directed and targeted at me. It's not made for me, because if it was made for me to watch, it'd be fucking brilliant.
for more gems like this, follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel to see Mark come out with some whoppers. And if you think Martin paints himself in glory, listen to who he'd put in a remake of Ghostbusters.
I know. I mean, that's the trouble now with Martin, because any credibility he has got at all about anything is measured by the fact that he wanted to have Berry as Louis. And
Louis Tully, an
Tully.
accountant with his own firm. No, that should be a 23-year-old Tom Holland who probably hasn't even qualified. You bollocks, you talk.
I mean, let's recast Die Hard, shall we?
Every time I think about you, pull me back in.
As Hans Gruber.
Like
Matt Berry as Hans Gruber. That's what Martin is.
When I win the lottery, I'm going to give half of it to Mark and half of it to Martin. And they can set up their own production companies, because I just want to see what happens.
So I'll tell you what won't happen. We won't remake Jaws with fucking Matt Berry in it.
No. We'd remake Jaws with Quentin Tarantino.
Oh God. Oh, yeah. So,
how do we make the Avengers with Matt Berry playing everyone?
So,
would make a nice thought.
Die Hard. I'll kick it off. I'm gonna go. My rankings for Die Hard are as follows. So we'll start this off.
Oh,
I've gone 1, 3, then 2, and Mark, I get the rose tinted glasses bit. I got rose tinted glasses for 2, and I watched it and went, oh, it's a bit pants actually. Then 4, and 5 is an abomination. So 1, 2, 4, 5 for me. That's where I'd see it. That's my top 5. Go on, then, Mark. You're wrong, but go on.
Mine's 3, then 1, then 4, then 2, then 5.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Say that again.
Can you say that again?
3 first, then 1, and then that's the odd bit is between 4 and 2. Purely from the fact that 2 is a parody, I'm picking 4. So 4 is third, then 2, and then 5.
What an odd man you are.
Yeah.
4 is really
individual.
4 is really bad, but 2 is worse. I'd rather watch 4 than 2.
Ronan, you want to kick it on?
I feel like I'm really boring, and I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for me.
Yeah, you said you're really boring, Martin.
I can't. I'm actually completely in agreement with Dave. I'm 1, 3, 2, 4, 5.
Yeah.
At the same time, I do enjoy it too, because it's shamelessly what it is. It shamelessly steps up and says, I'm here to make these a massive franchise. This is what we're going to build our boots on.
Yeah, but I mean, I think, I said earlier on, like, Die Hard 2 was the first one I saw, so that was kind of my introduction to the franchise. So that's probably my rose-tinted glasses. That's probably why I rated that. Again. But I mean, looking at it more critically, yes, Die Hard, the first Die Hard is better, but I think I still would put 2 highly. Again, I think the side characters are really interesting, and which is not what anybody looks for in a movie. And it has the best deaths, and I don't think anybody looks for in a movie. So maybe that's just my unique take, or maybe it's the cheap vodka. Who even knows?
If I had to watch Die Hard, or I had to tell someone to watch Die Hard, I'd say watch 1, then watch 3 because it's the real sequel, then burn 2 and 4 and take a shit on 5. Just don't bother. Because for me,
No,
two
'cause
is a
I would
dream.
burn 5 because then it wouldn't exist. I would take a shit on the others. That's the way you're going to.
But for me, it's not the Rocky. It's not the Rocky franchise for me. For me, there's only 1, then 2, then 6. With
That's
this, there's
you're
just 1
mentally
and 3.
irregular. You were dropped on your head as a child. Obviously,
No.
you were dropped on your head as your child.
No,
Let's get rid of the most successful ones with a lot of fun in them. We've given you the serious stuff. Now we're giving you a couple of fun movies, but I'm going to drop those because
again.
the Munt hates
Why?
fun. Look
Why
at
the
him,
fuck say that?
Hating bastard.
No,
Oh,
no,
look at
that's just
him.
bollocks.
Hates the
See,
fun.
as
Look
much as I
That's
think
spite and
1,
bile in his
as
eye.
much as I
Oh.
think 1 is overrated,
Oh, you've got terrible
it's a
ulcers with all
solid
that bile.
story. 3 is a solid story, and to give this a couple of movies that are fun, fuck off. Make proper movies.
And
Jesus,
they did. Oh, because the audience
what a
didn't
poor
go for it.
bastard
They were
excuse.
crap. They were so unsuccessful. No, they were massive. We'll save that. Anyway, back to this. So it's 1, 3, 2, 4, 5.
Hang on, Martin. Martin, I have to disagree with you there. Box office does not good movie make. So
No,
you
you're
can't,
dead
you
right.
can't
It doesn't,
hold
but it doesn't make shit movie either.
Hang on, whoa.
Thing again.
We talked Transformers: Age of Extinction, which took $1 billion. That was a dreadful.
Are we trying to do the Rocky argument now?
No.
Fucking Age of Extinction is
Just
far
a
fucking
bloody
better
long
than
show
2,
doing
3,
Rocky
2, 4, and 5.
No. But you were saying, oh yeah, they must be good because people paid and it put bums on seats. That does
What
not
have I
make
just
it
said? I said they were fun movies. 2 movies were serious, then they gave you 2 fun movies. Those 2 fun movies brought in a hell of a big audience as well because people wanted some fun. They didn't all have to be that dark. And
if I want some fun, I'll come to a fucking hooker and go and fucking watch that shit.
Christ, you
poor excuse again.
Die Hard
Again,
review.
another poor
You're
excuse.
mental.
We're going to make a pile of shit, but it'll be fun. What a load of wank.
You have a meltdown again, Jesus.
I don't need to have a meltdown. It's just true. That's just to turn around and say, well, we'll make a couple of serious movies and we'll throw a bit of fun in.
You do know this is supposed to be about Die Hard.
Yeah, and I've just said shit. 2 is shit. 2 is a piss take. 4 is hard work, and then they fucking put an F1 jet in the middle of a fucking motorway and they expect to take the film seriously. 1
I
is
wish
a
they'd done
serious
that on
movie.
Spaghetti
It's an
Junction. Now, that
accidental
would've been
hero
amazing.
movie. It's believable. 3 is a terrorist movie, and what happens is believable. 2 is a piss take. 4 is criminal, and 5, I wouldn't even wipe my arse with the tape off a video of it. It's crap.
Well, it's an intriguing take.
There's no reason to have ever for anybody when you look at Die Hard to watch any other films than 1 and 3. Miss out 2, don't need to watch it. Miss out 4 and 5, don't waste your life. And if you want a bit of fun, go and do something else. Because watching 2, watching 4, and watching 5 isn't fun. It is fucking painful.
I'm going to watch 2 and live tweet it.
I'm going to go and watch 2 and 4 now, just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
I might put 5 on because I'm really fucking tired and I want to go to sleep.
Last week, when I watched these from 1 through to 5, and I 1 through to 4, I enjoyed all of them. I had a good time watching those. 5, not so much, but 1, 2, 3, 4, I did actually enjoy it. 4, I enjoyed a lot more than I thought I would. Yes, it gets ridiculous. Yes, it blows its own chance, everything. You can see what they were trying to do. They were trying to make a number 3 again, but they didn't. They went out and extended out into that ridiculous, plain big rig truck scene. But cutting some of it down, it was a lot of fun. I still watched that and just enjoyed it.
I think with 5, and I think it was David, I was telling you before we started recording, like I went to see 5 in a cinema, and I went and I got really drunk afterwards just to forget it. And then when I was rewatching it for this, which is the first time I've watched it since then,
Sorry.
I was surprised by, well, I wasn't surprised, but like there was, when I was watching it, I was like, I remember this. Did this happen? Did I see this before? like I was impressed by how much I had managed to forget by getting so drunk after I'd seen it in the cinema. So I mean, I don't want to endorse drinking, but if you want to forget something, doing it immediately afterwards.
See, and married man, you can't afford to get that drunk. This one memory will stick,
That's why I have
unfortunately.
cheap vodka.
So I think we have a general consensus that it's looking like, and Ronan, I know you've got an affinity for 2, and Mark, you've got an
No,
affinity.
I appreciate my biased and skewed perspective of 2. I really do. I mean, when I was watching it, I could appreciate why people wouldn't like it as much, but at the same time, I recognize my own personal affinity for it. So I get it.
Yeah. So I think we've got just about, Martin and I are on the money with this. 1, 3, 2, 4, 5.
Yeah.
But, you know, for the reasons I'd said, you know, and Mark, I think you'll agree, 2 is a bit of a parody of 1. It's like Python does Die Hard.
I'm happy to agree that 1 and 3 are good, and 2, 4, and 5 are shit. That's fine by me, because between 1 and 3, you've got to watch 1 to be able to watch 3. I could put the 2 movies together and have a 4-hour movie. That'll do me. I'm happy with that. And then throw the rest in. So
that's where you are. The rest of us are sort of 1, 2, 3, and 4 were all fun, good movies.
I didn't think 4 was fun.
Yours is just 1 and 3 are good.
I thought 4 was pants and 5 was an abomination. Still better than Revenge of the Sith, by the way.
So just point out right now as well, Dave did actually buy me 4 on Blu-ray, the bastard. That's how much he liked it. He actually chose to buy that as a Christmas present.
Your reaction was priceless. Your reaction was priceless when he held aloft the Blu-ray and went, "What the fuck is this?" Yeah.
Dave, I thought you liked me. Fucking. That he's getting a poo in a box this year.
So on that, thank you to Ronan, all the way from New York. From hopefully it won't be a war zone tonight. Thank you to Martin from the studio.
One last toast to Die Hard 5.
Yep, yippee-ki-yay. Thank you to the Munt, who is joining us he's going back to bed after watching Die Hard 5, and I'm probably going to do the same. So that was franchise.
Take his medication first, though.
And if you like what you saw, and if you like to hear people ranting and shouting, boy, you should see us when we recast movies. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you again.